Hi, welcome to this week's edition of Blues Talk Weekend. John, Dave, myself are going to look back over Connacht's unfortunate defeat against Grenoble last weekend. Look forward to all the Pro 12 action and discuss this week's rugby matters. So boys, start off with Connacht. They were unlucky.
To quote Radiohead, you do it to yourself. You do, and that's what really hurts.
A valiant effort though.
It was valiant, it was brave, it was entertaining to watch for the first hour or so. But then, after an hour, I began to feel that they're not actually going to win this game because they're not doing the things you need to do to win when you're in a position to win. They were 19-3 up. They had that's a 16-point lead. That's 3 scores. They were 13 points up in the second half. That's 2 scores. You know, these were significant opportunities.
Sinbin killed them though.
Yeah.
Well, they killed themselves by failing to make touch, kicking the ball across their goal mouth,
line.
And then obviously the 10 minutes that the prop was in the bin.
Mm-hmm.
That was the real killer.
There's things you do. I mean, it's all very well and good being an entertaining and delightful team, much like Leinster were in, say, 2006. At the end of the day, you end up like Leinster did in 2006, humiliated.
Well,
they weren't humiliated.
No, they weren't humiliated, perhaps. But do you think Pat Lam regards that defeat as anything other than completely self-inflicted?
I'd say he'd prefer to win against Munster at the weekend and win that game.
Well, that's a perfectly valid point. No, that is true. That is a perfectly cromulent point. A win against Munster would embiggen them more than the win against Grenoble did. But Grenoble were there for the taking. They're not a very good side. They're a slightly worse than mid-table top 14 team. You know,
7th, yeah, slightly better
8th.
On the table. Are they 8th now?
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. I think Connacht have taken an awful slashing in the media.
Have they?
From Trevor Hogan, from
Alan
Quinlan, and Dave Cahill.
I
all slated them.
Well, myself and Alan might be notable cynics in terms of how the game's played, but Trevor Hogan's a romantic.
I just think that, you know, it's like everybody's waiting to kick the... People have been saying since the beginning of the season, Connacht, yeah, the lads are away in the World Cup. Connacht are really playing great, but World Cup's over, they're going to be shite. January comes along. Yeah, Connacht they're still playing really well, but just 6 Nations, so something will happen. They'll be shite. And now here we are in April, and they're on level points with the top of the table. But, you know, everybody just wants to put Connacht back in their little box.
I don't see that at all because, I mean...
I think so.
Do you remember the media reaction to Leinster losing to Munster in 2006?
Mm-hmm.
I have never seen a sports team in any code treated more harshly. I don't think it's unfair to say that.
And the worst time before that was Perpignan.
Yeah, right. The worst thing I saw said about Connacht was they died a beautiful death. I mean, that's not exactly. It's not. But Dave, does that serve Connacht? That's my point. Does that serve Connacht?
But like Connacht were beaten by a point away from home in France. We were beaten. We were murdered by Munster in the in Lansdowne Road. Unfortunately, there was probably 1 in 10 of the people who went to the stadium were wearing blue that day. So we gave a lot of ammo to the media to attack us with. Connacht played stupid rugby, but they played some breathtaking rugby. They attacked from deep. They took chances. If you aren't prepared to take a chance, then you're going to get nowhere.
I'm not arguing with that, but at a certain point, realism has to rear its ugly head. And instead, perhaps when you're on your own goal line, you kick for touch. You don't kick a fucking cross pit.
Okay.
Like Contepomi did in Toulouse. He didn't. He did the opposite.
Yeah, but
and we scored a try, the best try in our history.
Ultimately, that team ended up humiliated. I mean, it was a great day and all that, but ultimately, that Leinster team, Michael Cheika ended up having to ditch his best mate to recover from that year.
I think he kind of...
Pat Lam won't even kick for touch.
His best mate kicked himself or shot himself in the head as well.
Well, yeah, but Pat Lam won't even kick for touch.
I just think that comparisons with Leinster in 2006 are a bit bogus because Leinster in 2006 didn't have the steel in the pack. They didn't have... Connacht have the steel everywhere. They're a little bit naive, but hey, they're great defenders. They defended with 13 men a few weeks ago.
Do you remember going back to the World Cup in 2011 in New Zealand, right? The All Blacks were down to their 4th choice out half and nearly blew it in the final.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? You're taking out... Now, Connacht don't have the resources that the All Blacks have, or indeed most clubs have. And they were down to their bare bones. You know what I mean? They're down to... They rested some guys. They had to play... In the last 10 minutes, people were saying, why didn't they go for the drop goal?
There's a perfect example. Like, they've got fucking nobody. The Robbie Henshaw's playing out half. The last kick was taken by Cooney.
I'm not saying they should have gone for that.
There's no one to take a
I don't have a
dropper.
problem with any of that. What I do have a problem with is actually playing the game of rugby properly. And there's but there's a tactical side to the game as well. Well, properly, Jason, is not kicking a crossfield kick on your own line.
I grant you that.
You pick. Sometimes you do have to be. Realistic. You have to take your touch. I mean, Connacht have like you say, they have a really good pack. They didn't have to throw the ball around constantly. Right? They could have used their pack. They could have driven it out. They could have soaked up some pressure while they were down to 14 men by playing one out rugby instead of been,
Okay, I take your point.
They are a little bit
totally
naive. I
take your
think
point.
we're all agreeing
but
with that.
last
And
week,
just to finish off that, and the other thing is, Connacht are playing the reason why Connacht are getting, to a certain extent, some people are being harsh about them, myself included, is because I think Connacht are a big boy team playing at the big boy table now, right?
Absolutely.
So
Anybody saying they're not is a
that means,
fool.
that means they have to take big boy licks,
I don't know. I think
which might be something for boys' schools, but anyway.
I just think that they're playing fabulous. Them and Glasgow are playing the best rugby in the league. They're a joy to watch. Yes, they're a little bit naive, but hammering them for losing to that was a lottery of a game, and their luck from the 60th minute onwards was shocking. Like, no way at halves.
and even
a
in the
man in
very
the
last
bin
minute, the
and-
last play,
Yeah.
that referee, he could have given the decision the other way. Now, I think
could have.
the man actually drove through, he lost his footing and fell. He didn't dive over the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was the exact last, like, that penalty could have possibly have gone for them, and it would have been a kick in front of the sticks. What would we have been saying then? Would we have been saying, oh, well, that's the way to play rugby?
This is the thing. Like, one little
Like one error, one
slip the
slip,
other
or
way.
one, if the referee turns his arm and points the other direction. But can I just say one thing? Like, last week, John mentioned rugby being in the entertainment business and trying to win hearts and minds. Like, in Ireland we've got the GAA, which is, supersedes nearly every single sport. When the soccer team is doing well, thousands of people who wouldn't watch a football match will go and support them. Rugby's in the space below that, nearly trying to win. Like, now Connacht are going to have a sellout against Munster. They had a sellout against us. My point is that it's an entertainment business, and you're trying to get people. If, as some people would suggest, you just kick the letter off the ball and win 9-6 or win.
What I'm suggesting is there's a sensible
6-5.
medium.
There is. No, there
course
is. I
there
agree.
is.
Of course
And
there is.
Connacht came nowhere near to it. That's my problem.
Neither did Grenoble, and it was just that kind of a game.
Yeah.
Like, Connacht will learn the lesson that Leinster learned, but I think Connacht are a lot further down the track than Leinster were in 2006. Leinster had a huge advantage in that they'd the Irish backline, and they'd fabulously skilled people behind the pack, like, fabulously, the like we'll never probably see again. Connacht don't have that necessarily, but they also have a better pack of forwards than we
Leinster
did.
did,
So
yeah.
they have the option of playing different rugby, playing rugby to the condition. They can bash it up if they choose to. I mean, bloody hell, they bashed it up for years.
Yeah, well, they
haven't-
have the players to do it.
It hasn't gone away,
We got a question in last week, actually, and it came in just after we recorded. So but it's actually apropos to this. Andrew Potts asks, why? He's obviously been watching Points of View. Why? Our coach is obsessed with the box kick out of defence. You might or might not
Could be
gain.
Welsh.
Yeah, Delilah. You might not gain possession, and you might only be 15 metres up the pitch. Opposition get the ball and it's pressure back, and you're more likely a fatal mismatch. For example, Hoggs try against Ireland. It's very hard to regain the ball, so why give it back so easily? Please explain.
Yeah, because he put it in out of defence. Yeah, I see what he means. Like, I mean, if you're kind of outside your 22, maybe it's a bit better of a percentage play. But in your 22, it can be
Yeah, no,
a
I'd
real risk.
I don't like box kicking as a defensive tactic.
We saw what happened then in Galway 3 weeks ago when there was a hurricane blowing, and the ball was going, just going straight up in the air and being blown back.
They
on
were
our
obsessed
side.
with box kicking.
That was a mental. Keep persisting with that was crazy.
Yeah.
But if you look at Ireland doing it, Conor Murray's a pretty decent box kicker, and also he has the wingers primed for contestables, and
who are very good at contesting.
and they are very good at contesting. Like, they're all good in the air. So it depends on where you are on the pitch, and I'm personally not a fan of it out of your 22. You might as well just throw it to the out half. That's a case in point where Ian Madigan was playing in Connacht and McGrath was box kicking out of defence. The out half has a much better
View.
A view, but B, the physics of how an out half is going to kick. He's going to be able to kick it further. He's going to be able to, like a box kick is a bit of it's a way up high and over tactic where
It means it's going to
you
get
can
caught in the wind anyway.
exactly, you can keep the ball lower, your trajectory right, and get touch from your out half. You can't so easily. So, you need the same protection for a box kick as you do to get it back to your out half. So, why not go with that option in your 22, especially into a wind?
Any tactic used
But
to...
just to finish off on that, in between your let's say your 22 and halfway, it's a pretty good technique because
Especially if you've got good
if
wingers.
you've got
on
good
cover.
wingers for
Yeah.
the chase.
And if you've got, like, I was watching, our seats were quite low down, 10 rows or whatever from the pitch level against Munster in the Aviva. And my God, Conor Murray.
Oh,
his
sixpence.
I mean,
Puts on a sixpence.
absolutely fantastic. The distance he gets in them, even just clearing it into touch from the base of a
Murray's
fantastic.
exception. Any tactic used to excess, be it a box kick, be it a
Of
cross
course,
kick,
yeah.
be it a long kick, be it one out rugby, be it spinning it wide. If you do it, because rugby's great thing about rugby is a game in which there are many options available to you at any time in the thing. If you become over reliant on one, then you become a team that's easy to defend against. So if you, like Leinster were doing against Connacht, if you overuse the box kick, no matter what the conditions are, to be honest, even if you overuse it, then it's a bad tactic.
Yeah, and also at every point in rugby you've got three choices: kick, pass, or run. So if it's a buck, if you're
the CUS team you played on was Fort. It was called Knock On.
yeah, no, we used to do that just to get the other opposition
Just to get a
back
scrum,
in the
wasn't it?
scrum. Yeah,
Yeah, you like that contact.
we used to push them over from our own 22.
But
And then I woke up and I had to go to school again. Shit.
Before you descend into tales of soggy biscuit, just to revisit the Connacht game, I mean, the way they played and the tries they scored were wonderful tries. Don't get me wrong. They played just some extraordinary rugby that no Irish team, I don't think any Irish team since that 2006 Leinster team has played. My only wish is that they leavened it with, a tactical appreciation of where they were.
Do you think in the long run, first of all, for this season, do you think it might have actually been a benefit that they didn't, because they only can concentrate on the league
Yeah.
now?
Oh, I think
rather than
I think it was a freebie.
It was a freebie.
Yeah.
But second of all,
If they learn from it, if they use it right.
exactly, and that could be their Black Sunday as we experienced 10 years ago, and really learned from it. I mean, from then it's just been, it was nearly a trophy a season since
Do you know
then.
what the most the important thing, and it's their philosophy down there, is, and Joe Schmidt used to be like that at Leinster as well, the process. Get the process right. Do the process. If the outcome will follow. The outcome didn't happen in that game.
Because
It
the
doesn't
process
mean
was wrong.
it doesn't mean you give up on the process. You keep the process going, because 9 times out of 10, if you get the process right, the outcome will look after
And they
itself.
trust their skills. Like there's lads giving little pop passes to big props in second rows. So they trust the guy is going to catch it and not knock
was
it
it
on.
for Healy's second try? It was second try where there was a pass. I think it was Bundy Aki threw it and it missed the intercept by that much. But it doesn't matter if it missed it by that much or that much. The pass was just, and it was a huge pass, but it was a real skilled pass because it hit the guy on the run. And it was a beautiful pass. It might have been actually Robbie Henshaw threw it to Bundy Aki. I can't remember the exact precise details.
It was Bundy Aki threw the pass.
Was it Bundy Aki? Yeah, you know the pass you're talking about. But it was a beautiful pass. Like you were saying, it was a real skills thing. I don't think that they had the process right. I think if they get the process right, they have the skills. I even think that their out half, who everyone says is their third half, I think he's a really good player.
No, he is, but like, I mean, he went for, like, I think he just lost. I don't know.
The run of himself.
Well, he started kicking balls across his try line in his 22. He missed a sitter of a touch kick that he used to get your touch, get the ball off the pitch. Reward your pack for the effort they've just put in.
Well,
And it's just those simple things. Now, he hasn't played a huge amount of A-grade rugby, so he's not.
well, maybe
you can't
to be-
expect him to play like Johnny Wilkinson.
Maybe to be charitable to him, he realised that Connacht had a huge advantage in Adequaloon and Darcy
Or
and Healy on that side, doubling up.
Yeah.
And maybe he was just trying to feed that ball. We'd be charitable for once. Or maybe that's what he was trying to do. Maybe he was trying to hit that advantage point
Well, your man, the guy, was it Healy was lining up against the Pacific Island guy.
Oh yeah.
It was shocking in defence, brilliant going forward.
Yeah.
But a bit of sleep in defence, and I
You
think
can say the same about Matt Healy sometimes.
Yeah.
people have done.
Yeah. Well,
He got called up to the Irish camp.
we were talking about like Dennis Buckley's yellow card. That whole process started with Matt Healy missing a shocker of a tackle. So it did. That's where that whole piece of play came from. But you know, he'll get better at that. If he's working under Joe Schmidt, you can be damn sure he'll get better under it.
I'd like to see Dennis Buckley working under him too. He didn't get the call this time.
Yeah, I was very surprised actually.
I suppose loose head is a position that we do have a fair bit.
We're not exactly short of players of any kind of loose head you want. We've got a couple of them.
Something I was thinking actually today is that especially for wingers and just in terms of Matt Healy getting into the squad and fellas like Ringrose, we've got a lot of kind of good but not great players hanging around the back line, the Irish back line, since Darcy and O'Driscoll disappeared. We've got some great ones. Maybe you'd say Robbie Henshaw's a great player. Obviously Sexton's a great player, but maybe is it time to start taking a few risks on guys like Matt Healy just to get a bit of something, a bit of spark, because we're looking so. There's nothing. There's no deception. There's nothing funky coming out of our back line, and if we had a few players that there wasn't as much analysis on. In the mix, not a whole back line of them, but like one or two in the 3/4 line between.
It's possible. I mean, we're going to South Africa at a strange time.
Like there's two great examples, Ringrose and Matt Healy.
They have there's no Ringrose won't play against South Africa. I'd be very surprised. I'd just be very, very surprised. Because South Africa are primed for
doing his final exams.
South Africa are primed for a beating. So there.
Yeah.
I got a feeling that that there's. I mean, any year where the Lions are the top province is not a good year for South Africa.
Yeah, well.
Speaking of which, well, not Lions, but South Africa, Ulster very unlucky.
Yes.
Marcel Coetzee out for 9 months.
Oh man, yeah.
That's very unlucky.
That's rotten.
But before we get into the Irish stuff, I think we should. I mean, the weekend. I was not looking forward to this weekend's rugby or last weekend's rugby. With the European knockout week, it's all I think about kind of thing. But I wasn't looking forward to this.
Only the credit card is getting a bit of a doing.
But I'll tell you, I was completely wrong.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful weekend rugby, wasn't it?
Apart from the second half of the Saracens game.
Yeah, but the rest of it was
But there's an awful lot of cynicism in saying, no one cares about the Heineken or the European. They do actually.
Yeah.
And people do, just because we're not in it.
Yeah.
You can't ignore it. It's there, and it's a European competition. And what happens if we're in the final next year, or we were in the semi-final last year?
It started off with Dragons versus Gloucester, and it didn't let up. It
started with Sale versus Montpellier.
It started with Sale versus Montpellier. Actually, you're right, and that was a really good game as well.
Didn't see it,
and it didn't. But it did. The weekend didn't let up. It was an absolutely brilliant weekend. It really was. The rugby was superb.
Wasps game against Exeter.
Wasps against Exeter was
classic.
Everything you'd want from a game of rugby. Anyone who didn't enjoy that is tired of life.
The first half of the Northampton Saracens game was pretty good, and the first half of the Racing Toulon game was pretty good. Second halves of both were fairly stodgy.
Yeah. I think the pressure began to tell on both teams. Well, certainly in the Racing Toulon game, I think the pressure really began to.
Leicester and Stade wasn't a great game.
That was the one off note of the weekend. But that, I mean, if you get, we had 8 games between the two competitions. One of them was poor. London Irish Quins was a classic game as well.
That's right. Yeah, didn't see that.
I downloaded that and watched it Tuesday morning. Second brilliant, really was. I started off watching. I put it on, right, and I had my record player on, so I was listening to music and I had the game on mute and I was just watching.
You was working.
Yeah, I was working, and but I was watching, and I turned off the music so I could listen to the commentary. The game just sucked me in that much. It was superb.
So Toulon's run of
no 4 stars for them yet.
No, as reigning champions comes to an end. They were beaten by Ronan O'Gara's Racing Metro.
Ronan O'Gara's Racing Metro. Ronan O'Gara and some blokes from Paris.
And some guy called
Dan Carter.
Dinny. Dinny C.
He really was. I mean, he was on one leg for the second half.
He was, and he toughed it out.
It just proves Dan Carter on one leg is better than most out halves on two.
Yeah, for sure.
Of course, Racing lost Giteau as well.
Toulon.
What did I say?
Racing.
They lost Giteau as well, so there was a bit of a just
superstar for a superstar.
Yeah. It was the first half was brilliant. Second half was very, very intense.
Yeah,
shall we say?
So it's 3 English and 1 French in the semis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You'd have to say, looking at it, and Wasps.
Yeah, I'd love to see Wasps beat Saracens, but most people would love to see
Anyone
Saddam
beat Saracens.
Hussein's 15 beat.
Saddam Hussein's
Saracens.
ISIS 15.
Yeah, well, Saracens have a whiff of that in the name,
You
don't they?
braid it out half.
Yeah, exactly. Ted Bundy on scrum half. So yeah. Anyway, the French team that's left in it will need a good day away. I mean, Leicester are a brilliant team. They're kind of mid-table in England, but
They have a look at Leicester about them.
they in Welford Road, you wouldn't back against them. If Dan Carter's not fit, I'd say Leicester are winning that. If Dan Carter is fit,
I'd say Racing or Dan Carter's winning it.
yeah, he could well do, but we shall see. It could be all English final, the first since Wasps and Leicester in 2007,
And it's in the south of France.
and it's in Lyon. Yeah, so that'll
Oh,
be funny.
I hope they leave the EU before that. And then
The Channel Tunnel gets closed for the weekend.
14 hours to get through border control. But anyway, turn our attention to this week's Pro 12 matches.
a bumper crop of Pro 12 matches, Jason.
Well, we need to win this desperately against Edinburgh.
We sure do.
They beat us earlier on the season when I think it was the opening game of the season, Bournemouth, Bournemouth's ground. And, so, like, we obviously we beat Munster. We have to win this game. It's just imperative.
We did what we needed to do. We won ugly against Munster. We used to do that when we were going into a European quarter final, and now we're doing it going into a nothing. But we're going into this game, and all of our internationals will be that little bit more assimilated.
Mhm.
And they had a week's rest.
And they had a week's rest. I think we're starting to build something for hopefully we'll build something for the knockouts. 3 games
Cardiff are doing that.
and a week and a week and a half out. It wouldn't surprise me if they got into Europe. They're outside chance there.
I would say that we
Okay,
will
it wouldn't
beat
surprise
Edinburgh. If we could get a bonus point on them, it would be huge. It'd be like 2 bonus points nearly. It'd be so big.
Well, Glasgow are creeping up. Like they won their match in hand against Zebre. They're only 2 points behind us now.
They're beginning to play
into
well.
third. Now they have a tricky game at the weekend. They travel to Scarlet, so it's third against fourth.
That's a huge game, actually.
That is the
Huge
game of the rest of the tournament, as far as I'm concerned. That's the key to the rest of the tournament. If
For us.
for us, yeah. If Scarlets can win that, we don't need to necessarily win in Ulster, say for example. Whereas while we have it in our own hands, we win our 3 games, we top the league. It's that simple. We're pretty much guaranteed. Yeah.
Not necessarily.
There's very little Connacht or Glasgow are going to do about it,
How many points are we ahead of Connacht?
because they have to play each
We're
other.
11.
So we're going to top the league if we win our 3 games.
If we win our 3 games and Connacht win their 3 games, and Connacht get 3 bonus points, and we get no 3 bonus points.
Okay, there's mathematical chance of it.
No,
but,
I'm just saying. Just
we're basically Connacht or Glasgow have to do something to each other, even if they draw, they're going to do something to each
at this
other.
point, the way that the league is structured now, there's no benefit to winning the league. Winning
First or second. it's
first and
important.
second. That's what I mean.
There might be a
That's what I mean.
benefit.
There's no benefit to beating top.
Well, it depends if you don't.
There
want
is
to,
a benefit if you don't want to play bloody Glasgow or Connacht. If you'd rather play Ulster or Scarlet, then there's a
That's
benefit to topping the league, So, and I would rather play Ulster or Scarlets than Glasgow or Connacht.
I think when you're in that position, you're gonna have to beat the best anyway. So
And also, we're playing at home. We're unbeaten in our last 12 Pro 12 games at home, which is a pretty significant record.
Yeah.
That's because we didn't have any knockouts last year.
And Edinburgh haven't won in Dublin in the last 10 years, 11 years actually.
Yeah.
I was astonished by that one. I think it was one of you said it to me beforehand, and then I realised that it was Murrayfield that was the elephant's graveyard, as you used to call it. It was a graveyard of a lot of Leinster hopes and dreams.
I
Even when we won there, it broke our hearts. If you recall, in 2006, no, 2000 and no, it was 2006 when we won there, and Ulster snatched
That's right.
the
Oh,
Celtic League with the last kick of the
It was
match.
a week after the
Did
Black
we not?
Sunday, wasn't it?
I was going to say it was the Borders. No, Ospreys were playing
Yeah. We were
it's a long time.
I'm
we
just wondering
took Edinburgh apart that day.
When
Wee Davy
I'm just
Humphries.
wondering if this was the match when Edinburgh last won in Dublin, was when Edinburgh scored a try in the last minute. Somebody said something to the referee, called him a wanker, I think. He penalised him. I think it was
He was a
Aidan
wanker.
McCullen.
No, it's
Was that
not.
not game?
Because I remember Edinburgh beating us, might have been 2005, in Donnybrook.
Yes,
it was a Sunday
That
afternoon.
was the last game.
It was Sunday afternoon. They're trying to sell it by making it Soul Sunday. They were playing classic 70s soul over the tannoy. God almighty, those were the days. But no, we never got close enough to have a controversial decision like
Okay.
that change the game. It was one of those, occasionally you'd have a totally, ironically enough, soulless day in Donnybrook. It was one of those afternoons because I was stone cold sober because I was on tablets.
You know, when they rejigged the whole European competition, there was a lot of gnashing of teeth, especially in Ireland, and they've ruined it. Why change something when it doesn't necessarily need changing and so on. But like, even making the way the qualifications,
They were right.
But has it made the league
For the
very
wrong
exciting?
reasons, perhaps, but they were right.
I don't know. 10 years ago, Ireland had three sides in Munster, Ulster, and Leinster were in the European Cup 10 years ago. Next year, Munster, Ulster, and Leinster will be in the European Cup, enjoyed by Connacht. So, to a certain extent, all it's done is done the opposite of what the Welsh wanted to do.
Well,
Yeah,
you see,
but do you not think it's made it like we're kind of wondering
I think
who's
it's
going
ma-
to make it
yeah.
into the playoffs? Who's
I
going,
think it's added something to it, but I think that could have been done by a cup competition as well. So,
I may have said this last week, but in previous seasons, Ospreys would have qualified for the Champions Cup or Heineken Cup by being ahead of the Dragons.
yeah, well, that's true.
And
No, that is true.
the last Irish team, who looks like being Munster, would not have made it.
Hmm.
This time, it looks like the Ospreys won't be making it, and Munster will.
Well,
And
the
it-
Welsh really can't get anything right, can they?
but like but I mean, next year we don't know. Like Leinster, Munster, Ulster, and Connacht have to be on the game again next year because they're not going to be guaranteed
Yeah.
their qualification. Just like I mean, imagine Munster don't make it. It's possible. They're playing Connacht at the weekend. Set out down in the sports
Well,
grounds.
that brings us to that game. Well, no, we haven't finished with the Leinster game, have we?
We'll come back to the Leinster game.
Yeah, okay. We'll come
Drift
back to the
around
Leinster
the
game
place.
and discuss the backs. Connacht will beat Munster. If their heads are right, Connacht will beat Munster. Connacht are a better team than Munster are. They have Jack Carty back, so they're stronger in almost.
Munster have the whiff of desperation off them that might carry them through, though.
Well, they'd want to.
They're missing some big players. They're missing Blendell is out for the season. Both of we know is out.
Yeah.
Peter O'Mahony's out, or he's called into an Irish training session. And the second one from Australia.
Mark Chisholm's out.
These are big. Well,
There's
they're big name foreign signings.
some guys have fallen out of form. Big players for them. Zebo was completely out of form against us.
Yeah. It was shocking.
He was very, very poor. They're going to be relying an awful lot on Stander,
Conor
Murray,
Murray.
and Earls.
The same three, isn't it?
It's the
And
same
with
three.
Zebo possibly if he
Yeah.
can get his form back.
But the thing is, they're three guys who are going to have to really play out of their skin against guys who are used to quashing. The likes of John Muldoon. John Muldoon has counted them in and counted them out in the sports ground.
and the thing about it is
I'd say
that
Connacht will be favourites. Whether they'll win is another
but
matter.
Connacht beat them this year. They've beaten
In
them
Thomond.
two of their last outings. Two of the last three outings they've beaten Connacht or Munster already. And they're not. You know what I mean? It's not like they just can't seem to win up in Ravenhill. There's 50 or 60 years. It's like for I don't know many years was Irish teams going to Paris. They were just expected to lose. You were beaten by the time you stepped onto the airplane. It's like that with Connacht, but they're not afraid of Munster now. That mystique
No,
is gone.
that's
They're playing
gone
at
for
home.
sure.
They've a great record. They've only been beaten once in the sports grounds this year.
If they have everyone available to them, then they have a stronger team than Munster. I don't think there's any argument with that. From 1 to 15 and maybe 1 to 23, I think they might have a stronger team than Munster. Munster are stronger in those three positions. But I think Connacht are stronger nearly everywhere else.
Well, that's the big three games we've named there is the Scarlets Glasgow, Connacht Munster, and Leinster Edinburgh.
Predictions for Scarlets Glasgow.
I'd love to see Scarlets win.
It's in Scarlets.
It's in Scarletania, yeah.
So who's going to win? Say it.
I'd
Say
say-
it. Do it.
I'd
Do it.
love to see Scarlets
Say it.
win, but
Say it.
I don't think they will. I think Glasgow will
Glasgow.
do it.
Yeah, same
They're on
here.
a row.
Yeah, I think
They're
Glasgow
up
as
into
well.
third. They
A lot Scarlets, I have to say, have a lot of dog in them this year. And if you remember the game between those two teams earlier in the
They
season,
have a lot of dogs, and
Scarlets-
they've DTH van der Merwe.
yeah, Scarlet and they've Barkley.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Guys with
two
chips on their shoulders,
Glasgow
yeah.
players that could deploy against them. And if you remember, they had 13 men on the park up in Glasgow,
Yeah, that's right.
and they
yeah.
kept them out and they won the game in Glasgow.
Mhm.
So they're playing for a possible season double over Glasgow, which I don't think anyone else has done.
Mhm.
So, you know, that'll be an interesting. Like we've said it, it's the
Did
key
they play each
fixture.
other in the European Cup as well?
Did they?
Yes, they did.
They did actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
forgotten
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, and I think
That wiped from the memory banks.
and I think
Glasgow did the double. Yeah. But like the Scarlets didn't give a shite about Europe this
No,
year.
but I remember the Glasgow had their huge, big Aussie rugby league.
Oh yeah, yeah,
He
yeah.
played for-
Who was that, Jason?
I can't remember his name. now.
Takili Nairavuro. That guy.
That's the lad. But he scored. I don't know how many tries he scored that day. But he had a classic one disallowed. I
Oh yeah,
remember that.
yeah. It was a Jonah Lomu style effort.
Imagine if you got a team with the wingers were Takili Nairavuro and Nai Adiolokan. Imagine if Jason was doing commentary in that match.
It wouldn't be a good day.
Left
It'd
wing,
be-
right wing.
Big lad.
The big lad and the other lad.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd go with Glasgow as well. I just think that they're rolling. I mean, Scarlets are a good team. They and they always play a nice brand of rugby. But
Coming off the two games they've come off though, like Cardiff turned Scarlets over in Scarletania, as far as I know. So that can go either way.
Well, it was 10 years ago, last weekend, that famous match over in Scarlets. No, it wasn't 10 years ago.
8 years.
It was 8 years ago last weekend, that match over in Scarlets where we fundamentally won the Celtic League that time in a mucky, horrible day when
Ollie LaRue.
Ollie LaRue had one of his
Yeah.
the championship moments. He was a man for the championship moments. I always say, and I've always said that we won the next season's Heineken Cup. We won it that day because that's how we learned to win dirty that day. But anyway,
And it
kind
was
of
dirty.
a prototype for the match
Dirty
in
day.
Harlequins.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was one of the last matches as well in Straddy, which is a great old stadium. We were always very fond of Straddy Park.
Yeah.
But Scarlets against Glasgow. Scarlets have a very good team. The Dietz van der Merwe, Barkley, as we discussed. I think Glasgow just have that. They have the
Also
M word
got Regan
momentum.
King and his Kiwi mate in the centres.
Yeah.
They're pretty Hadley Parks. They're pretty decent pairing there. So I wouldn't be writing
Hadley
the
Parks always
Scarlets.
sounds like he should be writing songs for the Beach Boys.
He probably was in another lifetime. But you know, I wouldn't be writing the Scarlets off.
I'm not writing them
I'd be
off.
shouting for
I
them.
just think Glasgow will win. I just think that they have momentum
I
and
fear
they're
you're
playing really
right.
well. They're back playing as well. They're playing as well now as they were at the tail end of last season.
And if you look at the other challengers for top four, Ulster are away.
Well, you have to make one more game to predict, John. Munster or Connacht.
That's another tough one. I'd go Connacht. I'd see Connacht as favourites, but the bang of desperation off
Who
Munster
do you
might
think will
just
win?
pull them over the line.
Who do you think will win?
I'm going to say Munster.
You're gonna say Munster.
I'd like to see Connacht win.
I'd
I'd,
love to
I'd
see
agree
Connacht
with John. I think Munster will.
You think that Munster's
Just I
a
just
bit-
think their needs
what they
is-
have in their DNA is enough to pull them through?
Yeah, I do, and I
The
just
bang
think
of
that
desperation will do it.
Connacht are qualified or pretty much qualified
Mhm.
for the playoffs.
I think
I'm not as
I
hungry.
think Connacht are a better side.
Definitely.
Munster have key players who are brilliant, but I think that Connacht will have the better team. But what you say about Munster's genetic ability to
Race
to
memory.
race memory, perfect muscle memory, to pull something out of the bag. It wouldn't surprise me if they did win.
There's another one for you. What about Zebre Ulster?
Oh, that's a tough one. That's a
5
tough one.
pointer to 0.
Yeah.
And the
So that's going to keep Ulster in the heel of the hunt. It's going to push them up the table. isn't
I'll
it?
also have a good habit of cocking up against Zebre, if you recall.
Yeah, but I think this is.
I don't think they will now.
Zebre were kind of for a while in the season. They looked like they were going
Beginning to get some stuff together,
Yeah,
yeah.
they looked like they were going to become the Treviso insofar as finish above them, but their last
It's fallen
results
apart a
have
bit,
been-
yeah.
Although Mr. O'Shea was doing the media today.
Yeah, he's finally admitting what everyone knew, that he is the new Italian.
I thought he was finally admitting that months ago.
No, he's always been. He denied it all the way through the
It's
Six
going to be a
Nations.
terribly hard gig for him, isn't it?
If anyone can
Is
do
it? I mean, no expectations whatsoever. Huge budget.
It seems like he.
Yeah, but you've still got to.
It's time for him, you know. He's time for him to move on. And if he's not moving to Ireland, Might as well move to
Well,
Italy.
there was rumours, shall we say, that the director of rugby,
Rugby and
Roland
Munster.
Munster was going to be filled by him, because wasn't you saying that the president of the Italian Rugby Union had denied that they...
He's apparently doing a French president thing. The role of apparently Razzie Erasmus has applied for it.
That's right.
I just hope he has a lot of good body armour, because the knives will be coming at him from every direction.
We'll see. I don't know, will they? I think Axel's had his shot now and he's had his day in the sun, so I think he's a guy who's Munster to the core, and he'd be happy to take a back seat for the team.
I'd say they'll get his whistle out of him as if they pry it from his cold dead hand.
But he's only signed a one more year deal, right?
Yeah,
so he's
exactly.
going to be gone, well, presumably gone at the end of next season, unless he wants to do another year.
And that's when Rog comes home.
Well,
I think might be a few years. Isn't Rog signed for another 3 years or something?
Contracts. Fresh as sport.
We'll see.
so turning back to Leinster Edinburgh, we want to have a look at the backs.
Part 2.
Halfbacks presumably pick themselves, do they?
No, I don't. Well, I don't think they do. I would say to Mr. Young McGrath that he could get a start, and he should have written on his wrist, if at first the box kick doesn't work, don't do it again, and then let him out.
Okay.
I'd go with McGrath. I think we have to start getting him up to speed. I really do.
Yeah.
I think he's good enough. I think he has everything that he needs. He just
I would agree. On Redden's fairly low mileage on the season, though.
yeah.
And, they may want him in place, and let's face it, as I said earlier, we're going to, this is the end game. We want the best, our final team
Well, it's
playing
become
together
a
as
thing.
much as possible.
Is Owen Redden our best scrum half at the
He
moment?
started in the
I don't
Aviva
know.
against Munster.
He did.
You got to presume that that's the...
A benchmark.
The scrum half position. I think they must have caught something from last year's out halves, because none of them seem to want the jersey. Somebody seems to have.
Playing each other out of the
Yeah,
jersey.
they seem to be playing each other out into the jersey.
That's what I meant.
I don't know. I'd go with Luke McGrath personally. I think he has a
Well, at the very
higher ceiling.
At the very most, you're only going to get another year out of Redden. And
Oh, yeah.
I don't know whether, like John, you normally keep an eye on this, but the contracts of the scrum halves, I don't know whether they've been
They haven't
signed
been
or
announced.
haven't been announced. I mean, that's probably
My feeling is exactly what you said. Another year for Redden, and probably Boss will toddle off.
I think Boss will retire. We'll have another year for Redden. We have McGrath, McCarthy, and Jemison Gibson Park.
Mr. Jamie
So-
Gibson Park.
I think that'll be our
Coterie
of scrum halves. I think we give McGrath the game time.
Yeah, I would have
Well, they have to
absolutely no
make an
objection to
investment
it.
in them at
Yeah.
some stage and say,
Yeah.
well,
Because then-
you are the man.
You give him the game time, and then what you have is you have a shootout between all the senior, if you like, scrum halves next season, because he's got the experience to take on Redden and take on
That's true.
Gibson Park on a level basis. So
Yeah, I can see Alan Redden slipping into a mentoring and finishing.
I thought you were going to say his
position.
dotage.
No, he's not that old. He's
No, he's not,
fairly durable.
I guarantee you that guy is. The body might be a bit getting on a bit. The mind, I'd say, is what he thinks about the game. He's always been one thing I've
How
always
many
been
years
impressed with
younger than
Redden.
Peter Stringer is
Yeah.
he?
Oh yeah, and Stringer was in. It doesn't look like his age today. I was watching him against Montpellier, but the thing about Redden is he's always been a deep thinker on the game. His tactical appreciation is just unbelievable. So he has that over them. Even if his body is even if they have physical attributes over him, they won't have the intellectual appreciation of the game that he has.
If he gets on a run as well, he can still. I've seen him this season do his wormhole trick where he just appears at every ruck, just appears there.
He has a
every
great
time.
cadence.
Yeah, he still has that. Okay, he doesn't have
I
it
got the
every.
word in before he did.
He doesn't have that every game or anything, but he has had it in a few games this season, so it's still there somewhere. So I wouldn't write him off.
I beat him to both momentum and cadence.
To be beaten, need to sing Cardiff are the coming team next. But anyway,
No, I think you came first there.
So Rob Kearney is back in
Yes.
in harness.
yeah,
Hopefully well rested, not carrying anything. Because I mean, he gets an awful lot of abuse for some reason. I don't
he
know.
does.
But I
But
think
he has a point to prove.
I think a fit and fired up Rob Kearney is a wonderful and beautiful thing to have.
Yeah, and let's face it, Joseph Schmidt will be looking to see him in good form for the trip to South Africa, because he's just the man you want. Been on a Lions tour there, you
Yeah.
know.
He likes the hard ground.
He likes a bit of hard ground, so you know he's the
Well, it was 7 years ago that they went down to South Africa for the Lions, and
dramatic.
he kind of shone down there. Like
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
went out not really going to be a, no one really would have given him much chance.
He was in
of
the
being
mix,
a
that was all.
starter,
Yeah.
and he ended up playing.
He
in
was
the
awesome.
test.
Yeah.
Mm.
Boys, as ever, thanks a million, and thanks very much for watching. Cheers.